everyone. Welcome back for another deep dive.
It's great to be back.
Today, we're going to be looking at the impact of the Beatles.
The Beatles.
Yeah, and we're going to be going beyond just their music. We all know their music is incredible, but they had a much broader impact than that on society and culture, even on politics.
Right.
So we're going to be using excerpts from the Wikipedia article on their cultural impact to guide our conversation today.
Sounds good.
So I guess the best place to start is with their popularity. I mean, everyone knows the Beatles were huge.
Huge.
But as of 2009, their estimated record sales were over 600 million worldwide.
Wow.
That's incredible. I mean, that's more than just being a popular band.
It is.
That's like a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, that level of success is kind of key to understanding their impact, I think, because
Absolutely.
it wasn't just sales figures. It was a measure of their reach.
Right.
The power to influence everything from fashion to politics.
Yeah, and they kind of revitalized Britain when they came on the scene.
It's true. They emerged at this really interesting time
Yeah.
when British conservatism was declining.
Yeah.
And they really became symbols of liberation.
Yeah, for young people.
For young people, exactly, mirroring those social shifts, like the end of national service. They represented a break from the past,
Yeah.
a step into a new era.
And let's not forget, they put Liverpool on the map musically.
Absolute Merseybeat.
Yeah.
The sound they spearheaded really shifted the focus away from London.
Right.
Liverpool was this musical hub, and all thanks to these four lads.
It's pretty amazing, and that success that they had this big political ripple effect as well.
Definitely, their economic contribution to Britain was significant.
Yeah.
And politicians from both major parties were really eager to associate themselves with the Beatlemania phenomenon.
Wow.
So that shows just how deeply ingrained they were in the cultural fabric.
Yeah, so let's talk about Beatlemania. We've all seen those pictures.
Yeah.
The screaming fans.
Yeah.
But it was more than just hysteria, right?
Exactly. Beatlemania, as the British press dubbed it,
Yeah.
often gets reduced to just those images.
Right.
But their impact ran much deeper than that.
Right.
They challenged conventions, they shifted attitudes, and they sparked conversations about everything from personal expression to social norms.
Yeah, there's that story when they got their MBEs.
Oh, yeah.
And fans were outside Buckingham Palace chanting, "God save the Beatles."
Wow.
They even clacked with police a little bit.
Really?
It shows how powerful they were.
Yeah.
It's almost like they challenged the established order.
Absolutely. It's a powerful example of how they disrupted that typical artist-fan dynamic.
Yeah.
They became symbols of change, embodying the hopes and aspirations of a generation yearning for something new.
And then, of course, they came to America.
Yes.
And kicked off what we know as the British invasion.
The British invasion.
And the timing is interesting.
It is very interesting.
They arrived just a few months after President Kennedy's assassination.
Yeah.
And I imagine they brought this much-needed sense of joy and excitement.
Absolutely. A nation in mourning found solace and hope in their music.
Yeah, and I want to hold your hand. It shot straight to the top of the charts in the U.S.
Right to the top?
It was different.
It was.
It was edgier than the typical pop fare at the time.
Their sound was so fresh and invigorating.
Yeah.
It's such a stark contrast to the prevailing American pop landscape.
And it wasn't just the music.
Right.
Their fashion, their humor, even their accents challenged American perceptions of Britishness.
Yeah, they were breaking down stereotypes while simultaneously creating new trends.
Yeah, and they really opened the floodgates for so many other British artists to come over.
They were pioneers paving the way for countless UK acts to find success in the U.S. That's the essence of the British invasion.
Yeah.
The Beatles leading the charge,
Yeah.
transforming the global musical landscape.
And speaking of trends, we can't talk about the Beatles without talking about their fashion.
Oh, yeah.
Those suits, the boots, the haircuts.
Oh, they were trendsetters. Their style was hugely influential.
It was.
Pierre Cardin suits, Cuban-heeled boots, and later those mod looks from Carnaby Street.
Yeah.
They were fashion icons.
They really were, and unlike a lot of bands that came before them, they didn't have like a single front man.
That's right.
It was like all four of them.
Right.
That was a pretty radical departure from the norm.
It was revolutionary.
Right.
They redefined what a band could be,
Yeah.
emphasizing collaboration over individual stardom.
And they didn't shy away from evolving either.
No, they didn't.
Remember when they started growing mustaches?
Oh, yeah. That shocked some fans.
Yeah.
But it showed their coldness to break with their own image
Right.
and defy expectations.
Yeah. They were always one step ahead.
Always.
Pushing boundaries, and then there's their songwriting.
Ah, yes.
That famous Lennon-McCartney partnership.
Legendary.
It was groundbreaking.
It revolutionized songwriting, influencing not just fans, but countless artists.
Yeah.
And the music industry itself.
Yeah, they raised the bar
They did.
for everybody else.
Yeah.
And they helped shift the focus from singles to albums as well,
Yeah.
right? Like the album became like a more significant artistic statement.
That's right. They treated albums as holistic works of art.
Yeah.
Not just collections of hit singles.
Right.
And Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is a prime example.
Yeah.
Its critical acclaim and commercial success really helped to elevate pop music to the realm of high art.
Yeah, that album really did change the game.
It did.
And speaking of change, let's not forget their connection to the social movements.
Oh, right.
And the counterculture of the 1960s.
Yeah, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because their relationship with those movements was complex and multifaceted.
Yeah.
They became symbols of the counterculture. But their involvement was more about actions than overt political statements.
Right, like their refusal to play segregated venues in the U.S.
Precisely. And they went even further, using their contracts to ensure integrated shows later on.
Wow.
This was a really powerful stance.
Yeah.
Especially during a time when segregation was still deeply ingrained in parts of America.
And then you have John Lennon's peace activism and George Harrison's exploration of Eastern spirituality.
Yes, these personal journeys really resonated with the counterculture's search for meaning.
Right.
And a more just world.
It's important to remember that their music,
Yeah.
while not always explicitly political,
Right.
provided a soundtrack to the counterculture.
Yes.
And their actions, like their stance on civil rights, really helped solidify their place as icons of change.
Absolutely. Even when they weren't explicitly addressing social issues,
Yeah.
their message of peace and love and their willingness to challenge the status quo resonated with the generation.
Yeah.
It was longing for something different.
Absolutely. I want to touch on something that we haven't mentioned yet.
Okay.
And that's their artistic presentation.
Okay.
They were pioneers in so many ways, from TV appearances to world tours.
Yeah.
They were constantly innovating.
Their influence went way beyond the music itself.
Yeah.
They transformed how artists presented themselves and their work.
Yeah.
Think about it, they were among the first to fully embrace television as a promotional tool.
It's true.
To really harness its power.
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine now, but the concept of a world tour was revolutionary at the time.
It was.
And they were one of the first to really embrace that.
They helped make music a global phenomenon, connecting with fans worldwide in ways never seen before.
Yeah, and their decision to focus on studio recording
Yes.
after retiring from live performance in 1966,
Yeah.
that was groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking. It redefined what it meant to be a band in the modern era.
Yeah, and their success didn't just impact music.
Right.
It transformed the music industry.
Yes.
It turned it into the multi-million-dollar business.
They helped usher in the era of music as big business.
Yeah.
It even affected the stock market when their publishing company, Northern Songs, went public.
I was gonna say.
A first for a band song catalog.
Yeah, it was a game changer.
It was a game changer.
It really was, and they showed the financial power of music.
They did.
And paved the way for future artists to take control of their publishing rights.
Exactly.
And build their own empires.
That's right. They shifted the paradigm.
They did, and even beyond the business side of things, their willingness to prowling conventions really impacted how bands were perceived.
It did. They weren't just a group of musicians.
Right.
They were a cultural force, challenging norms and pushing boundaries in every direction.
Okay, so as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive into the Beatles' impact,
Okay.
their music continued to resonate with generation after generation.
It does.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's their ability to tap into something universal.
Okay.
Their music speaks to the human experience, love loss, joy rebellion,
Yeah.
in a way that transcends time and place.
Yeah.
They captured the spirit of youth, the yearning for change, and the desire for connection.
And they did it with such authenticity and raw energy.
They did.
You can feel the passion in their music.
Yes,
The genuine joy they took in creating something new and exciting.
exactly. Their music was infectious, and their message was one of hope, unity, and the power of imagination.
So for everyone listening, as you continue exploring the Beatles' music and their legacy, I want you to think about what aspects of their story resonate most deeply with you.
Yeah,
What lessons can we draw from their journey?
good question.
And how can their message of peace, love, and creativity inspire us to make a positive impact on the world today?
Their story is a testament to the power of music and the transformative potential of art.
Yeah?
They showed us that anything is possible when we embrace our creativity, challenge the status quo, and strive to make the world a better place.
Absolutely.
They proved that music can be more than just entertainment.
Yeah.
It can be a catalyst for real, and lasting change.
And it wasn't just about social change. They were fearless musical innovators.
Absolutely.
Constantly pushing creative boundaries, experimenting with recording techniques, and incorporating diverse musical influences.
They weren't afraid to explore and redefine the sonic landscape of popular music.
Yeah.
From the psychedelic sounds of a Sgt. Pepper to the experimental nature of Revolution 9,
Right.
they constantly pushed the envelope.
They were true pioneers.
They were.
And their influence can be heard in countless artists who came after them.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
we see how they elevated the roles of the producer and the recording studio.
Right.
They viewed the studio as an instrument itself, a space for crafting and manipulating sounds to create something truly unique.
Yeah, their experimentation helped redefine what was possible in popular music.
Yeah,
And what's amazing is how their music continues to be discovered
I know.
and reinterpreted by new generations.
It's fascinating how their music has aged.
It really is.
It still feels so fresh and relevant.
It does.
You can listen to a Beatles song today and be transported back to the 1960s.
Right.
But you can also hear elements that resonate with contemporary music.
Yeah, it's like their music transcends time.
It does.
And their influence isn't just limited to music.
Right.
You see it in art, fashion, even technology.
Think about it. Their use of animation in Yellow Submarine was groundbreaking for its time.
Yeah.
Their fashion choices influenced trends for decades,
Uh-huh.
and their embrace of technology in the recording studio paved the way for so many innovations.
They were ahead of their time in so many ways.
Were.
So as we dig into this idea of the Beatles as innovators,
Okay.
I think it's worth highlighting their impact on the music industry itself.
Okay.
They weren't just musicians.
Right.
They were savvy businessmen, too.
Absolutely. Their influence extended far beyond the recording studio.
Yeah.
They helped transform the music industry into the global phenomenon it is today.
One thing that struck me was how their publishing company, Northern Songs going public, caused a stir in the stock market.
Oh, yeah?
It was the first time a band's song catalog had been treated as such a valuable commodity.
It was a game changer.
It was.
They demonstrated the financial power of music.
Yeah.
And paved the way for future artists to take control of their own publishing rights.
Right.
And build their own empires.
They really did shift the paradigm. And, even beyond the business side,
Yeah.
their willingness to challenge conventions really impacted how bands were perceived.
It did.
They weren't just a group of musicians. They were a cultural force,
Yes.
challenging norms and pushing boundaries in every direction.
They were pioneers, not just musically, but culturally.
Yeah.
Their influence transcended the music itself,
Uh-huh.
shaping attitudes, sparking debates, and leaving a lasting impact on society as a whole.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into the Beatles' impact,
Right.
I want to circle back to what we discussed earlier about their enduring legacy.
Okay?
Their music continues to resonate with generation after generation.
It does.
What do you think is the key to their timeless appeal?
I think it's their ability to tap into something universal.
Yeah.
Their music speaks to the human experience.
Right.
Love, loss, joy, rebellion. In a way that transcends time and place.
Yeah.
They captured the spirit of youth,
Yeah.
the yearning for change, and the desire for connection.
And they did it with such authenticity and raw energy.
They did.
You can feel the passion in their music.
Yes.
The genuine joy they took in creating something new and exciting.
Exactly. Their music was infectious,
Uh-huh.
and their message was one of hope, unity, and the power of imagination.
For all those listening, as you continue exploring the Beatles' music and legacy,
Yeah.
think about this.
Okay.
What aspects of their story resonate most deeply with you?
Good question.
What lessons can we draw from their journey?
Yeah.
How can their message of peace, love, and creativity inspire us to make a positive impact on the world today?
Their story is a testament to the power of music and the transformative potential of art.
It is.
They showed us that anything is possible when we embrace our creativity, challenge the status quo, and strive to make the world a better place.
It really is incredible to think about how 4 young men from Liverpool could have such a profound and lasting impact.
The lasting impact
On the world.
On the world.
And, one thing that has always fascinated me
Yep.
is how the Beatles evolved over time. Their music went through so many phases.
It did.
From those early rock and roll hits
Right.
to the more experimental psychedelic sounds of their later albums.
Their willingness to experiment and push boundaries,
Yeah.
that's a huge part of their legacy.
Yeah.
They never settled for the status quo.
Right.
They were always searching for new ways to express themselves musically.
Think about albums like Rubber Soul and Revolver.
Yeah.
You can hear them starting to incorporate all these different musical influences.
Yeah, like folk and Eastern sounds.
Yeah.
Even classical and avant-garde elements.
It's incredible.
Were like sponges.
Yeah.
Absorbing everything around them.
Right.
And then filtering it through their unique creative lens.
Exactly.
They weren't afraid to take risks to blend genres.
Yeah.
And challenge expectations.
Yeah. And they were masters of a studio.
Yeah.
They embraced new technologies and recording techniques.
Right. They used the studio as an instrument itself.
Yeah.
To craft their sound.
And their experimentation with multi-tracking tape loops.
Yeah, all of that.
And other studio innovations really helped shape the sound of modern music.
Absolutely. Countless artists have been inspired by their studio wizardry.
It's amazing to think about
It is.
how they transformed the recording process, pushing the boundaries of what was possible in the studio.
Exactly. And they did it all
with
such a sense of playfulness and joy.
They approached their music with a sense of wonder and excitement,
Yeah.
always eager to try something new. And that energy is palpable in their recordings.
It is.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Beatles' impact, I'm going to leave you with a final thought. Their story is a reminder that creativity and innovation can change the world.
They showed us that music can be more than just entertainment.
Yeah.
It could be a force for social change, a source of inspiration,
Right.
and a catalyst for connection.
Their legacy continues to inspire and challenge us to think differently, to embrace our creativity, and to use our voices to make the world a better, more harmonious place.
That's a great point.
And who knows, maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit of Beatlemania in all of us.
I think so.
Just waiting to be unleashed.
I think you're right about that. I don't...